We have today's familiar gospel about a sheep, a coin, and a son. Now, right from the start, let me tell you that the focus of all three parables is not on the sheep, the coin, or the son, but on the shepherd, the housekeeper, and the father, all three being the same seemingly obsessed figure we call God. So, let's detour a bit and take a look at some intriguing biblical background. The Pharisees were fuming, but they weren't scandalized that Jesus was not observing food purity regulations. They didn't care about that. Rather, in ancient times, it was understood that meals were a way of celebrating group cohesion. The Pharisees were upset because Jesus was identifying with sinners and extending membership in his kingdom to them. And what was worse, he wasn't even asking them to make restitution, especially those notorious tax collectors. Not that Jesus was indifferent to that. The point was that by choosing to eat with them at all, Jesus was making a statement. He was saying that sinners, regardless if they repented or made restitution, would be included in the call to the kingdom of God. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. That is what upset the Pharisees. Jesus' guest list. You should not miss Jesus' implied insult to the Pharisees either. Looking them straight in the eye, he begins, "What man among you has 100 sheep?" Well, that zinger is lost on us today, but Jesus is inviting the proud Pharisees to imagine themselves as shepherds. In Jesus' time, shepherds were the lowliest of the low. They were thought to be dishonest and thieving, poaching on other people's lands, stealing their sheep. To ask the Pharisees to imagine themselves as shepherds is like asking the governing board of the ACLU to imagine themselves as traditional Catholics. Let's move on to the parables themselves. The first parable of the lost sheep assumes the common custom of several shepherds. They'd get together and put all their sheep together and take care of the large flock together. So, leaving the 99 in care of others to search for the one lost sheep was sensible and expected. The main focus of the story, however, is the effort of the shepherd. He would have to traverse over craggy hillsides and deep ravines, keeping an eye out for predators. Then, once he found the sheep, he'd have to carry the 60-pound sheep all the way back. The point of the story is the exhausting effort and passion of the shepherd for one lost sheep. The second parable of the lost coin is a variation of the shepherd's story. The emphasis is once again on the great effort that the woman expends to find it. Houses in first century Palestine were small and dark, and the woman would have had to use precious oil in her lamp to search for it. Yet she looked and looked until she found it. Third, the most famous parable is that of the prodigal son. Again, he is not the point. It's the father who goes outside every night to watch for his son, who is never coming home. Then one day, just when he is about to give up, he spots a figure. It's his son. The father himself forgets his dignity and runs down the prickly path, out of breath, to embrace his son. And like Jesus, at the dinner table, doesn't allow for any apology, but silences his son with kisses. Again, the emphasis is on the care and concern of the father in having his son back. I think when I hear these parables, How many people waste their time trying to earn forgiveness and reconciliation? They plot and plan. These parables tell us, stop trying to earn reconciliation. Just abandon yourself to God's searching mercy. God is seeking you more than you are seeking God. So, here I am, is all one need to say. This gospel is about God's obsession for you and me. It is, when you think of it, an overwhelming and humbling thought, and, I would add, a motive for surrender to God.